185milessouth.com.
Smash that Patreon button.
185 Miles South, a hardcore punk rock podcast. What's up, everyone? This week on the pod, we are talking hardcore. Helping out, you know him, you love him. It is the best dressed man on the pod. It is Daniel Sant. What's up, Dan?
Mother, I tried. Please believe me. I'm doing the best that I can.
Also helping out, it is Ben Merlis, a.k.a. Ben Edge, a.k.a. Bedge. What's up, Ben?
What's going on? No Tupac lyrics for me.
And rounding it out, 6'2", what you gonna do? It is the mighty Posy Chris. What's up, Chris?
What up?
What up, what up? All right, no trivia this week, but I wanted to start a little light. And because we've potted so much together, I thought we would go around the table and tell a story about each other. Let the people get to know us a little better. Maybe it's from back in the day, maybe it's recent, whatever. But Dan, what do you got?
Well, one comes to mind immediately is OMDB West Coast tour. We were driven and helped out roadie-ish from our main man, Zach Oxnard. And we were in the legendary In Control van, which had the pee hole in the floor and the foul beast spirit of the Adidas taking noses by storm and pile driving them Harley race style through the floor also. But when we got up to Seattle, we played the Paradox, right? Chris, that's the name of the venue?
Yep, that's it.
Yeah. One of the best venues on any West Coast tour of that time frame. And we are playing the song Over My Dead Body last. And all Edgemen and Edgewomen are storming the stage, singing along and whatnot. But John Pettibone, legendary Northwest Edgeman, Undertow, etc., comes up on stage, picks me up, and power slams me to the stage during that, which then creates this insane pylon, like, I don't know, like 15 people deep, like just this pylon. But then what do I see from the bottom of this while the air is being squashed out of my lungs? I see Zach stepping over everyone and climbing the pylon like a mountain and walking across this pile of people that's at least probably like 5 people high, but like 15 people all just like on top of me. And he just is walking over it like like he's the grand old Duke of York or something, like just climbing this mountain and then coming down the other side. And then because of this said action, the next day, I believe, on the Pacific Northwest message board, there was like, did anyone see that like Nazi skinhead dude like drunkenly like smashing people during a party?
No, who was that drunk skinhead in the Motley Crue jacket?
Yeah, that's right. And then there was a comment below that was someone's like, I think his name was like Bud or something. Like someone was just making up fake knowledge even back then. It was great. But that was a alleged tour like for fun anyway. And going with Zach was super fun. Plus he's like the ultimate driving machine. So that was a great tour, and that's something that just came to mind when this question is posed.
Dude, that show was like all time. And yeah, that was a great little run. I think we drove we drove Orange County to Portland. And I
Yeah.
did that whole drive just because I like to drive. What's up? Dude. So I don't remember when we met, Chris, but an earlier memory I have of you is Champion was in the 805. Like, I don't even know where we met up. I think you played a garage in like Newbury Park or Thousand Oaks that night. Do you remember that show?
Ooh, yeah, I remember. Well, actually, a lot of these rolled together. Anyways, sorry, I don't want to step on your toes, but yeah, I definitely remember playing a garage in a Thousand Oaks. That was pretty sick.
Dude, that is sick because it's already the 2000s. Champion's already doing well. You guys are playing a garage. That's sick. But we met up that day and we used to go to this like swimming hole in Newbury Park. And the people that know the area, you either know of this thing or it's going to blow your mind. Like, what? There's no water there? Because I found out about it from this guy. I used to work at Togo's, the sandwich shop. And there was this guy that I worked with, this Vato. So shout out Sparky, Eastside Montalvo. What's up? But he told me this story. He's like, yeah, we went out to this like watering hole out in like Newbury Park. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, there's no water out there. There's nowhere to swim. What are you talking about? I thought he was just lying. But he gave me like this serious story with details. He's like, look, you get off on Ventu Park, you go north, you park at the tennis courts on the right hand side, then you walk down the trail. 15 minutes later, you're going to run into like this giant rock with a hole in it. There's going to be a rope there. Go down the rope and then follow the path again, and you're going to see like the swimming hole. And I was like, what? I don't believe this at all. But one day, because I worked weird hours at a sandwich shop. Sometimes you work at night, sometimes during the day. So I'd have time off during the day. And Ryan used to work at nighttime, busing or waiting at Quincy Street on Silver Strand Beach. We just drove out there one day, like, hey, let's go and see if this is for real or not. And sure enough, like the story was real and this place like existed. So I don't remember the first time we went, but it was super gnarly because like right before you could either turn right and like kind of rappel down that little hole, or you could go left up the hill even more. And then there was a jump, and it was about a 30-foot jump into this like little pool of water. And we measured it once, and I think it was like 16 feet deep. So it was deep enough. But the thing was hairy because there was a ledge on the other side. So if you jumped, like if you took a legit jump, you're going to like clear the hole and like land on the other side and really, kill yourself or hurt yourself really bad. So you have to like take a death step off this ledge, which was terrifying, but awesome, and so we did it a couple times. Anyway, so we meet up with Champion and we say, let's go and do the swimming hole, right? What else are you going to do with straight edge kids? We're not going to go party. So we got to go swim, and so we go, and every time we'd been here before, we were just absolutely terrified because the whole situation is terrifying, but we go and these guys are full on no fear. And I think Chris, you even had like those little reef walker, like swim shoes on, you had like something to get traction, and you're just like, where do I jump? And I was like, right there. And you just went and like stepped off the ledge without even thinking. I was just like, my mind was blown. Like, who is this psychopath? Like we're always kicking around like, who's going to do it? Who's going to do it? And then it's terrifying. And then you do it. And like someone almost like dies every time, and Chris was just like, where do I go? Oh, there. Okay. And just went like, what? And I'll never forget that. So
Dude, that was a great spot. And I will never forget you guys taking us there. Like we used to go there like every tour after that, basically. We actually measured it because we were curious, and it's about 40 feet. Like we went, our method for measuring it was kind of funny because we went to a drugstore. We found some string, like a ball of twine, right? And then we measured using like little like a 1 foot ruler, like from the stationary section. We measured that the tiles on the floor were exactly 12 inches, so 1 foot. So we got this ball of twine and we got like a magic marker, and we stretched out this ball of twine on the floor of the store, and we would mark off every 5 feet so that we could do a scientific measurement. And then we went and like tied a rock to the end of this string and threw it down there. And one person like held it on the surface of the water, and the other held it at the top of this cliff just to see what it was. And it was about 40 foot on the dot.
Jesus, I thought it was 30. That's like a big difference. Like when you're up there. Aaron Belcher almost died. Like he took that leap, and I swear to God, he was like 6 inches from like the ledge on the other side. But
I did this jump in the mid 90s. My friend Isaiah, who lived in Woodland Hills at the time, took me and a friend there. And I guess I had less fear in those days because I didn't pull a Chris and just jump like right away. Like I had to like build up the guts to do it. But man, like doing that bridge in Seattle, Chris probably knows this one. It's near University of Washington. It's like that weird little freeway on ramp that never got completed because the neighborhood protested it. But there's like the whole underneath it is just water.
I don't think it exists anymore. I think they tore it down.
It took like half a day for me to build up the guts to jump off of that. And it was like, oh, that wasn't worth it at all. And that's years and years later. So it's like, I am less brave than I used to be for sure when it comes to that kind of thing. But yeah, you're right. Like the way Zach describes it, it's like if you jump too far, you'll just smash the rock on the other side and die.
There's a place in northwest San Diego called Box Canyon, which is a quarry that has like filled in with water and stuff. And there's many people who have, done a Chris, just rolled up and jumped in and done it. And then there's the people like me who stand on the top in my bare feet, ready to go. And I take such a long time that the top of my bare feet got so sunburnt because I took forever to do this jump, like an hour psyching myself out. And there's this legendary rock that has graffiti on it that says Kid Psycho, because the urban legend is this kid called Kid Psycho went and ran so fast and jumped so far that he missed the water completely and smashed into pieces on that rock. So they've given him a loving tribute of Kid Psycho on the rock.
Wow.
Well, the silver lining of my jump in Seattle is I was on tour with Surprise Vacation, or as Zach likes to call us, what is your term for us? Spicy Vacation. And the guy driving us was John Gianelli from Nails and Charman, but at the time he was in that band Fell to Low, and they were about to sign to Revelation Records. And he goes, if you jump, we're gonna put your name in the dead wax on our record, like in the Matrix, the secret little message. And I jumped, and like years went by, and I totally forgot about it. And they wouldn't tell me, like, there's a secret to our record. And I never bought the record, but I went to Amoeba one day and I opened it up and I saw it said Ben Edge in the dead wax. I'm like, oh shit. He kept
Did you buy it
his
then?
promise. Huh?
Did you buy it then when you saw your name was on it?
No, maybe I should buy that record.
What an asshole.
He's not
Buy
in the
your
band
friend's
anymore.
records.
He had already quit the
it up.
band.
You need to take it up to the counter and be like, this is me. Give this
That
to
is some
me.
Totally.
shit. That's some shit. Ben, do you remember that spot that we jumped off that bridge in Plattsburgh, New York?
Yes.
That was like the perfect jump. That was like 30, 35 feet. And then like it was a dammed up river. So it was deep as hell. It was like no stress jump. It was like absolutely perfect.
At one more champion, no pun intended, of cliff jumping is John Millen of the band Committed and Names for Graves, the Cleveland guy. He when Committed played, the day after Committed played Pickle Patch, we went to this place, Red Rock. I had only ever been there once. This is near Santa Barbara up in the mountains. And this must have been easily a 60-foot jump. And like, he's the only one who did it. And he stood there and he's just like, he didn't even look scared at all. He's just like, okay. And he just jumped. And he's like, I kind of like landed on my back a tiny bit. It kind of hurts. Because he just kind of started to drift towards his back, not like a full back flop. That would just kill you from that height. But it's like, damn, this guy's brave.
Is that the Punch Bowls up there?
I don't know. I thought it was called Red Rock. I don't know if there's more than one place. It's the only time I ever went. I looked at that cliff and never once was I like, maybe I'll do that. It was just like, oh, fuck no, I'll never do this. And I'm completely fine with that.
Right. That spot in Plattsburgh that we jumped, like it was like an old railroad track crossing that like was shut down. And so you had like that big arch over the top. And when we were there, like some local like was telling us the story of some dude like every Friday after work, he like climbs the very top, which is like 90 feet, and drinks a 6-pack, and then does like a perfect swan dive. It's like, what a local legend, you know? Sick.
Yeah.
Anyway, Ben, what do you got?
This story sticks in my mind. I wasn't there, but Dan told it to me in the Over My Dead Body days, and I need details. So, the legend goes that Dan went to Magic Mountain one day, Six Flags Magic Mountain, Valencia, California, and the security there in the front, as he was trying to walk into Six Flags, pulled him aside, saw his judge tattoo with the 2 hammers, and said, "You're like a hammer skin," which is like a Nazi skinhead gang or something. "We need to photograph you first in case you try to pull anything inside the amusement park." And he's like, "I'm not a racist. Like, I'm against that shit. This band is against that shit." And they're just like, "We don't believe you. We're taking your photo." What? Tell me, fill in the blanks. What else happened?
Okay. So they pull me aside. All my friends are like, "Yo, what the fuck?" I'm also wearing a Chicago Bulls Dennis Rodman jersey. So you can see my tattoos. And they pull me aside. They're like, "You're a Hammerskin, right?" I'm like, "No." I had a shaved head. And I'm like, "No, I fucking hate racists." They're like, "Yeah, right, bro. Yeah, right, bro." And I'm like, "No, for real." And they're like, "Well, you can't go in without these tattoos being covered up." And then they were looking all up and down my arm, and I have a tattoo that says England on my arm. He's like, "Oh, I bet they call you England, right? They call you England." I'm like, "Who's they?" I'm like, "No, I'm not a fucking Hammerskin. This is ridiculous." All my friends are, it's been like 15 minutes now. They're like, "What the fuck is he getting?" Like, so then they make me go get my friend John, who has a t-shirt, and see if he will switch with me. Now, I was a lot more lean then, but I was still, a little bit of a chunkier dude. My friend John is like an emo medium. And like, so I have to put on this shirt where it looks like I'm wearing like, like there's in some women's wear, there's things called the boyfriend tee. Well, this would have been classified as the girlfriend tee.
You look like a Capri Sun.
Absolutely just squeezed in. And it was a Modest Mouse t-shirt. I remember it was lime green. And I'm like just squeezed into this, and I've got to walk around. So we go in, and then I'm like, "Fuck this!" And we go to like the first shop, and I buy like a Taz and Tweedy like Magic Mountain t-shirt for the rest of the day. Just get my full Magic Mountain vibes on. But yeah, they were convinced I was a Hammerskin. They took a photo of my face and a photo of my tattoo. And that's the only way I was allowed in, is if my friend John and I switched shirts. And then John is a tiny dude, and he's in this like baggy Dennis Rodman shirt. He's like, "Oh shit, now I know what it's like to be in Monster Crew."
What year was that?
Must have been like 97.
Because I remember going to Magic Mountain in the 80s. There were scary people in there. There were Nazi skinheads, I remember clearly. And like Crips and shit like that. Like,
Absolutely.
so
I don't think that ever ended, dude. Like Magic Mountain, we went a ton of times, like in the late 90s, early 2000s. It was like, that was before people were getting like their face tattooed and shit. And like, you could just count the head tattoos. Like, oh my God, I saw like 20 head tattoos today.
Oh yeah. It was straight like going San Quentin into Magic Mountain. Like, it was like that's where they dropped people off when they got out of prison.
Dan, did you also start the TLC riot in 93?
No, but I do know that story.
Oh yeah. When In Control and Fields of Fire were on tour in 2001, we went up and played London, Ontario. And Ben, do you remember this? We went to a strip club after the show.
Yeah, we didn't.
Do you remember the story vaguely?
I remember the story like it was like it's happening right now.
Okay, so I'll tell my story, and then Ben will correct me because mine's funny. So this was like the sleaziest strip club I've ever been to in my life, and we're sitting down enjoying this terrible show. Like the second girl that came out, like she just smoked a cigarette on the stage. It was like, whoa, all right, shout out.
That's
But
performance
anyway,
art.
it was very avant garde. But while we're there, some like big native lady comes up to Ben and whispers in his ear, "I'm gonna kill you." And we don't know. We're just hanging out, drinking or whatever. And Ben gets in a panic and comes up to us. He's like, "Guys, we gotta get out of here! Like that lady said she's gonna kill me or whatever." And we're like, "Dude, nothing's gonna happen." You know what I mean? And yeah, I don't remember after that. I do remember like when we mobilized to leave, like we went outside, like all like, "What's up?" Like ready for something to pop, but like there was no one there. Ben, what do you remember about this?
She comes up to me and she says, "Buy me a beer or I'll kill you. There's a bunch of guys. There's a bunch of guys outside right now who will kill you if you don't buy me a beer." And she said it like very convincingly. And like before I could even see who's talking in my ear, like she came up behind me and I straight up bought her a beer. No questions asked. Like I am not risking my life for a fucking $2 whatever Molson Ice. I just made that up.
Edge watch.
And then I told as many people in our crew as I could, like this, she said she's going to kill me and there's a bunch of people outside. And what happens is I can't remember how the bartender is tipped off, but she screams at this lady and kicks her out. She goes, "Get the fuck out." And then I was like, dude, she just said she was going to kill me. And the bartender said to me, "I don't mean to sound racist, but a lot of drunk Indians come in here starting shit." And I was like I couldn't even have told you this was a First Nations person. I was just like, whatever. Like I'm still think there's a bunch of people outside who are going to jump us. Yeah. And then we finally, and it takes a long time for us to leave because no one else wants to leave. And then finally we do. And it's like, there's no one out there.
Well, because we went to a way nicer strip club before that, but we went with, Fields of Fire, a bunch of straight edge kids. And so we go in and like, no one wants to buy a drink or tip.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like only two of us are. So it's like they kick us out right away. You know what I mean? Because everyone's like, it's like 2 beers and 8 waters, and then no one's tipping on their waters. So we had to go to like the secondary spot next door. Anyway, and it took a long time for us to get out of there because we were laughing at Ben because he was really scared, which is like terrible thinking back on it now, but it was really funny at the time.
What made you think that this person's a bullshitter and we're not really in harm's way?
I mean, dude, there's like 10 of us. Like, what are people going to do? And we're in Canada, right? Like, yeah, maybe one of us will get stabbed, but like, we're going to win whatever's happening.
Oh, yeah,
You know what I mean?
So that one person who gets stabbed, but whatever, no big deal.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, it's not like, I don't know, if we were somewhere where like gun culture was more prevalent, I would be like more scared. I'd be more scared in like the backwoods of Alabama or something, if someone threatened to kill us. But like, it's Canada, dude. Whatever. What are they going to do? You know what I mean? And so it's like, I don't know, are a few guys going to try to beat us up? Like there's literally like, there was like 12 of us, right? So if no one's coming with a gun, like I'm just not that concerned. Like whatever.
Right on.
That is right on. You guys got anything else, or should we move on to talking about some music?
I don't even know how we can follow that up.
Should any of that get cut?
No.
Okay. I don't know. I don't know what's gonna offend people. It's all love from my end, though. That's what's up. Okay.
I mean, the bartender, whenever anyone prefaces something with, "I don't mean to sound racist," whatever they're about to say is going to be racist. I mean, that's just, everyone knows that's common, knowledge.
Yeah, that's true. That's fucked up.
I'll tell one story. I've told this on the pod before, or parts of it on the pod before, but it's been like 2 years, I think. So, if there's anybody still riding with us for that long, like God bless you, and You can fast forward this part, but I don't know. Like, I guess one of my earliest memory of Dan was one of my funnest like days of being on tour ever, and just this whole experience in San Diego was like it was like one of those perfect tour days, right? We were on tour. It was Trial and Left with Nothing, and I was roadieing for Left with Nothing. We got pokies as one does in San Diego, particularly back then with vegans. Um, and then, we just met up with a huge crew of San Diegans and played some baseball. And I mean, there had to have been, 20, 30 people there and both bands. And it was just a blast. It was like one of the funnest days. They had a big boombox that everyone had like a tape that had their walkout music. And when you would go up to bat, and the MC would play your song as you're coming out. So that was pretty sick. I remember Justin from Forced Life, Justin IB, who I met in Seattle a few months before that was hanging out, and he had a big nasty shiner, black guy, because he got in a fight. He had just gotten in a fight with some Nazis, and so that was his. He was telling the story about this. I think he had like a bite mark on him too, because the dude like bit him. But yeah, and then we also went swimming that day too. Went to someone's house. I think maybe someone from Swindle, maybe. And
it was Nick's house because Toby the shark pit bull was in effect.
I was gonna say I still remember that pit bull. I still remember it was named Toby. I'm sure that dog is no longer with us because I mean that was like 20 some years ago. But what a cute dog, and I just remember everyone was swimming and playing with the dog, and the dog was like trying to catch people, and I don't know, it was a lot of fun. And then the show was sick too, so it was one of those like perfect tour days.
What did you get for walk up music that day?
I don't know if I got one,
because what we used to do is, no offense to Chris, and because these people were visiting, but what we would term all the generics, like the people who didn't have their own music, just got the GB horns.
Nice. I probably had that.
We would just play the GB horns for them. Don
give Don's music.
What?
Don't give Don's music.
Well, it was straight edge.
Jesus.
Mine was Project X, and then at other times it was No Allegiance. It was very straight edge.
Well, right on. Let's jump in to some new tunes. All right, we're talking some newer music. First off, long anticipated on this podcast, it is the Punitive Damage. This is the Blackout LP. Digitally, it came out on October 14th on Atomic Action Records. You can still order the vinyl, and the vinyl ships around March 30th, 2023. Just before we jump into this album, I wanted to talk about this because it's something we've chatted about briefly on the pod before. When it comes to release dates and so forth, Ben, the whole record came out on October 14th, right? And the LP is like gonna ship at the end of the first quarter of 2023. Looking back on this record in 10 years, when did this record come out?
2022.
Because it digitally came out, even though there's no physical copy.
Yeah, because that's the quickest thing people are going to pull up to see what year did that come out again. They're going to look and they're going to see 2022.
They're all going to get it wrong because if they look it up on Discogs, it's going to be when the record comes out, right? Like, or I guess there will be like that FLAC file thing that it shows.
Well,
sometimes.
Also maybe if the record jacket says copyright 2022 on it, even on Discogs, it'll say 2022.
Right. I just want to chat this real quick just because it's a good example of this happening finally, and that's very interesting to me. You know what I mean? Because we look back on so much stuff and we get things wrong all the time, right? Like it was just an episode or two ago that we said that the Minor Threat the 2 7-inches got re-released on LP in 83, and you know who corrected me right away, Ben, saying it was actually 84. You know what I mean? So like I just think this is going to be one of those that we're seeing in real time. So
But everyone got it wrong. Both contestants got it wrong either way. I think they guessed 86, 87 or something like that. So
right, but I got the
didn't
answer
change.
like from a website. You know what I mean? I got it from
Did-
Discogs. Like I was the one with the answers, and my answer was wrong.
It's shocking that Dan didn't get it right. You know, the person that didn't pick Minor Threat for their straight edge Super 7.
Well, we knew he was going to get it wrong because he's a low key Minor Threat hater, and
And
also hates Fugazi.
and you know why you got it wrong, Zach? Because you did trivia without Bedge.
I know. That was a crucial error, right? Anyway, let's jump into this LP. Like I said, it was much anticipated on this pod, and in my opinion, it totally delivered. Chris, this was super anticipated for you. What is your opinion on this record?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think this sounds incredible. The two previous record 7-inches were, they sounded fine, but like this is definitely a big step up, and it just makes it that much better. As an LP, it really works well as a well-crafted LP. Like there's a lot of diversity of sound on this. There's fast, there's faster, there's fast, and then there's blazing fast, there's mid-tempo, they slow it down at times. Some songs are rippers, some are a little bit more anthemic. So it's a really well-crafted LP is kind of the first thing that stands out. Well, actually, the second thing that stands out. First thing that stands out is Steph's vocals sound so gnarly on this. Like she sounds so pissed. She's like straight up snarling.
Yeah, it's rad, and there's no effect on it. It doesn't sound like maybe there's a slight reverb that you do, but she's not doing anything funky on the vocals. Like she's not hiding behind an effect. It is like just her vocals are pure brutality.
Yeah, it's like bleed from the throat territory stuff. Also love that they retracked my favorite track from each of the 7-inches, which is cool. Nothing and Strike Back are both on this, and they both sound even better, which is always hard to do. Bottom Feeder, I love the Little Richard style piano in the background. Like it's hidden back there, so it's not they don't beat you over the head with it, but it's a really cool kind of a stylistic thing. I love it. I think this is a great record. It's probably going to be one of my favorite, top 5 of the year at least.
Yeah, I love the end of that Bottom Feeder. Like when it just starts rocking, like the rocker part at the end, and bring in the piano, and I don't hate it. Just touching on a couple things that you said. The recording is amazing, and Taylor Young doesn't give the credit he deserves for doing like stuff that isn't super big and moshy and metal-esque. This thing just sounds amazing and raw, but still bright. And also, he did a great job with like the last Charman record. So he can do this like more straightforward hardcore or lo-fi stuff. It's not all big kick drum. So yeah, shout out on that.
That's
also,
a good point because he's done like Military Gun, like MS Paint, like some other bands that are not just tuned down to C and get heavy.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing that he can get down like with that diversity. So that's sick. Also, I echo your sentiment. I love that they re-recorded Nothing because like I think it's one of the greatest hardcore songs ever. And like it's on the demo, re-released on like the 7-inch, and then here it is again. It's like when you got that gold, just put it on everything. Like this is Face to Face Disconnected. Just put it on every record. And I love that they didn't like feel guilty about it. Like they didn't slot it in like the 9 slot or something. Like it's in like, I mean, depending on if you consider the first song 1 or 2 songs, it's in either the 2nd or 3rd slot on the record. So hell yeah, it's out front. It's so good. This record's great. Yeah, that Pure Blood 6 Sunrise is a great starter. Like is kind of just a mission statement of what they sound like. Fast, then like that, the big modern slower breakdown into Nothing. And then there's a couple songs on here that are just like pure YOLO, which I love. Like the song Fool. It starts out like an up tempo, mid tempo, like just a raging, downstroking guitar song, and then it goes in like this wild ass negative approach, ready to fight ass part, and then into a big mosh part at the end. It's just full yellow, wild style, love it. Also on the Sangre y Oro and the Blight of Christ song, another full yellow song, like starts out with a scissor beat, which they do really well. And Chris talked about them hitting on lots of tempos. They have like 2 slow songs on this record. I believe it's Que me tienes miedo ahora, and then also This is the Blackout are both like slower songs, so they do that, and then the speeds go all the way up to Here They Are doing like a full on fast scissor beat on this track, and it's sick because it does a scissor beat and then it does like a mosh tease, but then it goes fast, and then at the end like they do a big like break part that's very similar to like that great part on Nothing, they kind of like do a similar part here, and it just totally works. I love it. Bottom Feeder, maybe my favorite song on the record. It was the second single, I believe. And yeah, talked about that rocker part at the end. I love this record. Also, just want to say Big Band. That's probably my favorite guitar riff on the record. That verse riff is so ill, along with like the tempo that they do it at. I love this thing. It is a great LP. And yeah, so much diversity, but like the marshmallow does not fall off the stick. I love this thing. Ben, what's your take?
It's funny you mentioned the Ready to Fight thing about Fool, because I have like that's in my notes. It's totally structured like that, and then it's got this sort of ceremony-ish breakdown, and then she yells, "Shut your fucking mouth!" And those are actually the first lyrics on the whole album that I can make out, because it's like we don't have the lyrics in front of us, so we're kind of having to imagine what she's singing at this point. But I'm sure all of you in Futureland will have all the lyrics readily available. It's funny. The other thing is that the song Sangre y Oro, the Blight of Christ, without Googling, this means blood and gold. How did I do, Zach? Is that correct?
Yes. Good.
Yeah, I was like scissor beat going into a sick guitar break into standard fast beat into 2-step part. And I wanted to see if I got all that right, but you filled in the blanks for me on that one as well. Definitely Bottom Feeder is the standout for me because it's got the piano in it. And I love when you incorporate like actual piano, not keyboard or synthesizer, even though that can work sometimes too, into like hardcore punk, a la We're Only Gonna Die, Bad Religion, and I don't know. There are other examples of that. Verbal Assault does it on one of their songs on Trial. And then you got that bendy rock and roll guitar too. And there's a point in that song where she takes her foot off the gas for like one line. She's not pushing her voice to 11. And it sounds cool, and I kind of wish she did that more, like kind of, wasn't on 11 the entire time, just to kind of break things up vocally, because yeah, I mean, she is screaming her head off. The one thing, like the song Nothing, I'm trying to figure out if it's like based on a negative approach or if it's kind of filtered through early 2000s kind of Bridge 9 style bands who are obviously also influenced by Negative Approach, because it's sort of, it could go either way. I mean, I guess we'd have to ask what bands this band is listening to when they're coming up with their music. And the only other thing I kind of want to know is there's one of the songs is Leech 3, and I went back through their catalog to figure out if they had written a Leech 1 and a Leech 2, but not that I can see. So I'm wondering what that's about.
I think it's about you guys, Ben, Zach, Dan. Leech 1, 2, 3.
I think
Clearly
they just put it out there.
include me.
It makes you
No,
think.
I don't know.
Think about it. Think about it, man. Why is it Leech 3? Think about it. Dan, what's your take?
Leech 3 is referencing the final leech that Gordy LeChance finds in his undies in Stand By Me.
Great reference, Grandpa.
Okay, Boomer. This is an incredible hardcore record. This is easily going to be in my year-end wrap-up, I will say right now that Steph is my in the like top 5 hardcore vocalists that are still doing it right now.
Hell yeah.
The delivery and the rage and the sound of her voice is just so fucking good. Pure Blood 6 Sunrise. What an epic opus to open this, you know? It gives you a little preview of what's ahead across the album, all in one song to an extent. They utilize the stops in songs like incredibly well, because when it comes back in, it's coming in smashing, you know? Whenever there's a stop, you're like, oh shit. And then boom, it just comes like absolutely fucking destroying. Like, and my favorite songs are Fool. I absolutely love that shut your fucking mouth part. Oh god, it's so good. Bottom Feeder, of course. And then Que me tienes medio ahora. That slow jammer is so raw. It's fucking epic. I mean, I could really say like 10 more songs. This thing is incredible, and I am so glad that the quality of the songs that are written are able to shine with this beautiful recording, because everything is just perfectly audible. Hardcore people out there, you want to know what a bass tone should sound like? Listen to this. The bass tone on the songs is perfect. Like it, and it's adjusted from song to song. Like on something that's a grimier and dirtier, it's got that fuzzed out bass tone, and then on others that are a bit more like, you know, like the Stompers, it's got just this thick low end that just drives. I absolutely love this record. I cannot wait to, you know, sit down with the lyric sheet and listen to it more and more. But so glad that it's on Spotify, you know, now, to be able to really, you know, just play it at work a lot more than, you know, we reviewed this by listening to Dropbox because we wanted to talk it as it came out, and that is, you know, a little bit more painful than getting the flow of everything going from one to things. And I know Zach's going to be like, I can fucking show you how to do that on Dropbox. I don't know anything about technology. I'm just an old grandpa up in Oakland shaking my cane at everyone. So I just need my convenience. But yeah, this is going to be in the discussion for Record of the Year. Absolutely. I mean, I can't wait to sit with it more. I love it. Well done, Punitive Damage.
Hell yeah. And I'm glad they didn't hold it back any longer, right? It's been done for a long time. But I'm glad they put it out now, and we're not waiting until the end of March. That would have been ridiculous. Like, I do just wonder what bands are going to do for these records, like with the pressing plants, you know, they're backed up a year, you know, just put it out. Like, fuck it. You know what I mean? Like, what are the most popular bands selling record wise? I don't know. But to hold back music for like a year when like hardcore bands don't always have the longest lifespan, just put it out. Like, I want to hear it now, and I'm glad this is out for everyone, and sure y'all love it. All right, let's move on. The next one I want to talk about was the band Jivebomb. The record is called Primitive Desires. It is a cassette that came out on Flat Spot Records, and this thing rips too. Dan, what's your take on this?
Wow. I could just listen to the intro that's named 86 over and over and over and over again. It's, you know, like sometimes bands have intros on things and it sets the tone nicely and you think, but sometimes there's intros that, you know, for example, the Warzone intro and, you know, it's clobbering time, etc. There are things that just really stand out and you're like, oh yeah, that's lightning in a bottle. I really love the intro on this. It's really good. Then when it kicks in to the next song, the vocals are just aggressive, and it seems like the music gets a little bit more distorted and full of aggression. I mean, this is just flat out like smack you over the head with a bottle, like hardcore. That's just grabs your attention. There's no letting up on it. It's nice variety, and I really dug it.
Yeah, like we've talked brevity on here. Ben brought it up with Mind Force, and here's another band that just does it great. Like the songs are short, and also the record is short. And Dan, you talking about like that intro, the '86? That's a perfect downstroked mid tempo, like tempo. I love it. It like they just found the perfect pulse. Where if it was a little bit faster, a little bit slower, it wouldn't have felt the same. So it's good. You can tell like they're a band that like jams in a room together, right? It's not just like music made in the lab. I dig that. Also, yeah, when they jump into it, like that next song, the Primitive Desires, like they bounce around tempos again. Like from mid tempo, there's a really short, fast part. The chorus is super big and catchy, and it ends with like a mosh part, and then they speed it up to rap. Super cool. The recording is bright but raw. I like it. I do wish there wasn't vocal distortion. I really kind of, I don't know. I don't know a nicer way to say it. I hate that effect. Like I just want to hear people's like real voice. Just go for it. Like this girl, her voice sounds rad. So I want to hear how it is, right? Like, I don't know.
It bleeds over the music too. The distortion on the voice, like it almost makes the rest of the music sound distorted. Like after how clean and groovy that intro is, and then the next song, it starts with that super fast part, and then I agree. It's strong enough without. It doesn't need that production.
Right, and she actually writes like awesome vocal hooks, right? Like the Primitive Desires song is super catchy, and then also on that Illusion of Choice song, when it cuts out and it's just like the bass and the drums, and then like when it's repeating the Illusion of Choice, like it's so catchy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean like that's a small studio thing. Obviously, that's not a thing live unless they have microphones now that have distortion on them, or I guess you could cup the mic, and have it sound all wonky, but. Yeah, and that's the only thing I change. I think this rips. I love how short it is, the songs, and like the total package of it. I totally dig this. I think it's a great little EP. Chris, what's your take on this?
I see what you're saying on the vocal effect. I probably agree. That I might prefer it without it, but it doesn't ruin it for me. I think it still sounds awesome. I think the first thing I noticed, it certainly has kind of a Baltimore swagger to it. But it doesn't sound like Trapped Under Ice or like Stout or anything, or Neglect. But I would say probably maybe more in the lane of like a band like Spy. But yeah, it's really cool. I like the recording a lot too. I think, Dan, Zach, how you put it, I think is kind of what I felt about it too, is like, it sounds awesome and it sounds bright, but it still sounds raw enough that it's not like overly clean. Like it sounds super gritty. The vocals, despite that tiny nit, like I think the vocal hooks are awesome. Like her voice sounds great. Like her voice, you can hear it in there. And one thing that I notice is like there's parts where she kind of goes down to like this is going to sound disparaging, but it's just the way we use a term that we use to describe this style of growl, but like the Cookie Monster growl. And a lot of bands, I feel like when they step down to do that, or when they do that Cookie Monster growl, they kind of step down and they take some like oomph out of it, and it almost comes off more like they're like a voice they're putting on, as opposed to like just belting it out and having it sound gnarly. But I feel like when the singer of Jivebomb does it, like it still sounds like the vocals are belting out at full oomph, full strength, and it doesn't sound like a voice that they're putting on. So I really dig that too.
Hell yeah. Ben, what's your take?
Yeah, I'm glad Chris touched on the Baltimore thing because I am wondering myself if there is a Baltimore sound, and Chris named 4 bands that sound absolutely nothing like each other. But is Spy from Baltimore?
Now they're from the Bay.
Okay. Because I'm thinking that like Jivebomb occupies this kind of lo-fi democore lane that's sort of like it's a lane within hardcore that is not tied to geography. Like that style of music is kind of evenly dispersed across the country. Um, um, so you know, I mean, I think the band they downtune, which I picked up on when you hear the guitar and bass breaks on that song "Dits," which is interesting because they're not playing metal at all. They're playing like really fast raw hardcore, but it sounds like they're really downtuned. Um, and I totally agree that I'm not a big fan of distortion on vocals, or even just intentionally lo-fi production values overall. I think that's sort of like that must be a byproduct of people wanting to sound like their favorite records from the distant past, and then it sort of turns into this echo chamber where you have a couple bands doing that because they want to sound like the early 80s, and then you have a lot of bands doing that because they want to sound like those bands. So it's sort of like a self-perpetuating thing. And it's easier now than ever before in history to get a good recording that like it's obviously a choice, but man, a lot of bands are making this choice. So yeah, I'd prefer it if the production was more clean is sort of like a dirty word. No pun intended. Clean is a dirty word in hardcore, but a little bit higher production value.
I don't think that the production is bad. I actually think it's really good. Like they are going for something that's like intentionally raw, but it is very bright, right? That's what I hate is when bands go for like lo-fi and it sounds not bright. Like this
Yeah,
still sounds
muddy.
big,
Yeah, it doesn't
right?
sound
Like I
dull.
can, I can bump it in my truck and it sounds good. Like that's all. It just they're going. The one effect that I don't like is the vocal distortion. But like Chris said, I think that the performance overpowers like my one little nitpick. You think that this sounds
Mhm.
like lo-fi, Ben?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, are there things that are even more lo-fi than this? Of course, but it's definitely on that side of the spectrum.
They're they're intentionally going for a sound in the studio. Like
For
definitely we can
sure.
agree on that.
Yep.
I wouldn't say lo-fi. I would say noisy as fuck.
Right. Yeah, I would. That's probably a better way to put it, Dan. And that goes in with experimenting with like the tuning. Right. It's not a band that you would think about like drop tuning a little bit because usually that's like the heavier bands, but they are heavy. They're just not playing metal, right, Dan?
Yeah, yeah.
Go in with your take.
I just think they're like really open gate or whatever. I don't know musical technology in that kind of thing, but I'm just saying it's a lot like it's ramped up. Like the output is very ramped up and almost like electric, like bleeding into each other and stuff. Like it sounds really good, but yeah, I just could, you know, I'd love to hear it. Because there's definite groove and like stuff there too that I would like to hear come through with a little bit more cleanness. But it's a great record.
I think
Hell yeah.
the production term would be in the red. So if you look at those
Yeah.
limiters and they're
Mhm.
getting pushed all the way to the right where they're in the red,
It's clipping.
It's clipping, you're distorting. That's what distortion is. It's like pushing a signal so hard that it has nowhere to go and then it distorts.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of that going on.
Hell yeah. Okay, let's go on to this is an Oxnard band. I came across it because I follow a bunch of accounts on Instagram and someone was posting photos of this band playing the OPAC in Oxnard. The band is called Crucial Thought and it is their 2022 demo. I wanted to talk about it. Looks like a young band and I thought this was sick. Like it's just a killer hardcore punk demo, and I want to put on for Oxnard and Nardcore. So what's up? This first song, Imaginary Lines, I love that they seamlessly go from like mid tempo to like a scissor beat, but it's like a slow scissor beat. It's got a weird feel to it, and I dig that. Also on the song Language, this girl, her voice is sick. Like I love on this song when she goes back and forth between like kind of like the laid back voice and then her shouting voice is absolutely awesome. Also, there's lots of creativity in the vocals, and then also just want to shout out on the song Q&A. There are some cool little guitar hooks. So this band, they're playing pretty straightforward, like hardcore punk. Like I don't know, it's cool. But they are adding in some nice little like guitar hooks or vocal hooks. There's more to it. It's not straight generic. And I dig it, and I can't wait to see what this band does next. Dan, what's your take on this?
Yeah, I agree. You said that they're a young band. I can definitely hear that, but not in that's no slight. That's more like you can hear the youthful like aggression and the thing like when we all started doing bands, like certain riffs would take on like a nature, and then maybe as you get a little bit older you start to do things in a different way. Well, the way these riffs are like put together and the songs are put together, it's just screaming like absolute youthful passion and aggression, and I'm here for it. I thought the way the vocals are over the top is like at the perfect tone, like the perfect volume, and there's some catchy stuff there. I feel like this is one where I'm like, I can't wait to see what the next thing is from them. Do you know what I mean? Like this is a great start, and then I'm really excited to see what the next thing up is, to see because I always find it interesting seeing bands sophomore releases, and especially when they're young like this, the fact that if being steeped in the scene a little bit longer, and the influences and the records you're being recommended and stuff to pick up to, like if that's going to make the influences go a little bit further, or if they're going to really drill down on the sound that they have now. I'm just really interested in seeing where it goes from here.
Yeah, this is sick though, because like it goes back to the original intention of a demo, right? Like they
Absolutely.
lay out what they are at this time. I dig it. I want more, right? That's a perfect like demo. It's a demonstration of what they are, right? And it's like, give me more. What's up? Chris, what's your take on this?
I kind of said almost the exact same thing about like the demo quality. Like the recording isn't great. Like it doesn't sound, as good as some of the other things that we reviewed today. And I don't want to say that to disparage it, because like, a demo is a demo, and they serve different purposes, though a lot of people are doing demos nowadays that sound pretty banging. But compared to some of that stuff and some of the other stuff where the recording is super powerful, sometimes you kind of have to listen to it a little bit closer and hear some of the things that are going on. The foundational riffs are pretty straightforward. They're fairly basic, but there's some really cool kind of guitar leads and bass parts that I don't know, kind of add another dimension and make it not just kind of basic, if that makes sense. And so it's cool to see some of that creativity kind of shine through a little bit. And, like Zach said, I'm really psyched to hear, what comes next. And, as they continue to kind of refine their craft a little bit and hopefully get like just bang and recording. The singer's vocals are one of the things that really shine from me. Like, it kind of reminds me a little bit of like 7 Seconds at times, like particularly like the speed and the way that the vocals kind of like both just are straightforward in like a more hardcore style at times, and then other times where she kind of like sings a little bit more like early 80s style, or even like, some 1.5 style stuff, although it's all fast, so it's certainly not that. But yeah, I think that the vocals for me are one of the things that really kind of stand out, and they're unique, and particularly where she hits some of those like notes to to kind of add another dimension to the yelling.
Oh yeah, Ben, what's your take?
Yeah, if you go to their Bandcamp, they're self-described straight up punk from the 805. Do you have any idea, Zach, how old the members of this band are?
Zero idea.
Zero idea. Okay, because when I was listening to it, Florence was in the room, and I said, "The singer of this band sounds like a little kid," and then I was like, "Maybe the singer of this band is a little kid," but so and it kind of reminded me of the band Mad Society, which was an early 80s LA hardcore punk band where the singer was a little kid. But I think it reminds me more than anything of Sin 34, which is like straight down the middle, like early 80s 4-chord SoCal hardcore punk with shouted vocals. And Q&A is definitely the standout track for me. It totally sounds like it could be on the Missing 23rd demo, or I guess the second Missing 23rd demo. I don't know if I've ever even heard the first one, but the full length one with the guy in the American, trapped inside the American flag demo. Nothing else really stands out, but like I think that this band's only going to get better, and then we'll review their next record and we'll like it. And when Dan says that he likes the sophomore release, he likes to see what bands do with their sophomore release. I like to see what bands do with like their fourth or fifth release, where you can tell like the members of the band are already starting to hate each other and like move in different directions. But hopefully we'll get to that point with Crucial Thought, and they're not going to call it a day before they get to like that fifth record where like one of them goes goth and the other one wants to be a metal band and they like don't know what to do, because that's always the most interesting part of a lifespan of a punk band.
Ben is still triggered by late 80s TSOL.
Aren't we all? Aren't we all?
All right.
Also, with their name being Crucial Thought, it totally reminded me of Crucial Taunt, Cassandra's band from Wayne's World.
Yes. Hey, we're going to have a ballroom blitz. Dan, let's take it across the pond. The band is called Clobber. The EP is called Tribal Rights of the New Friday Night. I believe it's just a digital EP right now. So I don't know. Again, we talked before on a couple bands that I don't know if this would be considered a demo or a digital EP. I don't know if there's a difference in 2022. But they're bringing it. Like, this is a professional recording. All these songs are well thought out and written really well. Dan, what's your take on this?
All right, we've got another record of the year contender. Well, not record of the year contender, but in the conversation for year end stuff. I fucking love this. I love that just the song titles alone already had me just hooked. Tribal Rights of the New Friday Night. I mean, just about, people out there causing bother on a Friday night. Like,
dude, this is so Brit, right? These like song titles, like they got to have a song called Spotted Dick on the next record.
Well, clobber is not only like, someone getting clobbered, but it's also English slang for like good clothes. So you're in your top clobber, so there's the double meaning there. The Karens, Gammons, hippies, and conspiracy theories is super sick. Like, a gammon is like a British male version of a Karen. Someone who's like, yeah, but what about this and what about that? When you're just speaking like, you shouldn't be racist. Yeah, but what about this? It's like, is there really a what about when when someone's telling you you're being racist? But and then the world's gone mental It's got like that football chant like
Yeah.
part to it, and it is just describing seriously the world has gone mental lately. And then Tottenham Court Road, just an oi classic, ready to just fit in with some of the other classic oi records of all time. Like this Tottenham Court Road song is just chef's kiss. It's like proper Cockney Rejects, it's just super good. I absolutely really dig this. I don't know much about them. Chris and I were both just psyched on this when it first came around. Like, Chris was like, "Yo, check this." I'm like, "Ah!" Listen to it like 20 times that day. This is right up my alley. Absolutely love it, and the recording's fantastic. The playing's fantastic. I haven't even described the music, but it's top notch. It's a really good thing that I think a lot of the 185 listenership will really enjoy.
Well, both this and Jivebomb, like Ben had said, there's no regional sound going on. Like this is these two bands. I listen to it. I'm like, oh, that's like good modern hardcore. That's what it sounds like to me, right? It's not the fast is not the backbone. It's like maybe the mid tempo and the groove is the backbone, and it's all kind of catchy. All has a pretty good recording. I don't know. I see a musical crossover between the two because I think that the style they're playing is just modern 2022 hardcore, and both the bands do it really well. Clobber leans into, it's like they can't avoid that street punk oi, which is great. It's what gives them their sound, right? So they're playing modern hardcore with that stuff. It's unavoidable, and the recording's great. I think it's good. I think that adding that element to this style makes them a clever band, and I love that they went and got a good recording. So I dig this. Ben, what's your take?
Yeah, here's something we need to not do is act like a band has oi influences just because the singer has an English accent. Like if you erase the vocals from this, you would, I think, to Zach's point, you wouldn't be able to know that this band is not from the United States. I don't even think there's a English hardcore influence. Like they definitely don't sound like Discharge or the Exploited or GBH. I think it's musically pretty standard American hardcore punk with lots of tempo changes. Yeah, modern sounding. Definitely no metal influence. And but boy, that guy's got the thickest English accent, and lyrically for sure, you have them raging against the Tories, who are the British version of the Republican Party, basically. Cops, anti-vaxxers, and those dreaded gammons. And they even drop a C-bomb, and they get away with it because they're from Great Britain. Good band, good band, and good music. I actually wish this were a little more produced, but that's what that big budget follow-up record will be for.
Oh yeah, Chris, what's your take?
Well, first off, I actually Googled what gammons is, and Dan can correct me if I'm drawing the wrong conclusions, but gammon is like a pork meat that's pink. So I assume
it's
I assume that
it's
I assume it's saying a redneck, basically you're talking about a pissed off, angry, entitled white dude who is so mad that his face is turning pink, and I'm assuming that's where the name kind of comes from.
Absolutely. It's like a ham steak, and you are nailing why people are called gammons, because they get so blustery that they're all, rosy red cheeks like I am normally. So maybe I'm just a ultra gammon.
It's just really hard to be a white man in this world,
Oh, absolutely. It's so tough.
First off, or second off, because that was first off. Second off, I want to shout out Rob from London for turning me on to this. I recently posted something on the Change Twitter account about someone new moves to your town. What are the bands that you're saying, yo, you got to check out these bands? And Rob listed a bunch of bands that we regularly talk about on here. I want to say like Flex and Mastermind and some of those bands, and then mentioned Clobber, and I was like, I hadn't heard that one. Yeah, so I went and checked it out, and yeah, it's great. 4 tracks on this. To me, the middle 2 tracks are the standout. The first one is the weakest. It's okay. It's not amazing. It's just kind of like a mid-tempo plotter. But then like the second and third song have so much character in them. Like the Karen's song, like excellent driving fast beat. The verses are catchy. The choruses are beyond catchy. But it stays fast. It's still a fast beat, but they're catchy enough that these are going to be sing along parts, right? And then the breakdown on this song is banging. Like this is my favorite song on here. World's Gone Mental be close second. Another great fast beat. It's fast through the whole song, but the vocals are, the vocal cadence is the way he kind of bounces off it. It doesn't make it seem like it's fast. It's the chorus in particular. World's Gone Mental, just real singy, really catchy. And then there's one part where I don't know if it's like a guitar player or a bass player or a friend, vocals kind of come in and yell over a transition that sounds awesome back into the chorus again. And then on this song, instead of going into a breakdown where the breakdown would be, they keep it fast and then just rip a really cool solo. So those 2 songs are great. Last track is decent. It's fun. It's my 3rd favorite on here. Funny enough, this song kind of actually reminds me a little bit of Poverty Based Saints, but better, a little bit less bluesy. And yeah, cool band. I think they're from, I don't know where they're from. They're from the UK, London maybe, but
No,
so that's where Rob's
they
from.
got to be from London if they're singing about Tottenham Court Road.
They are. They're from London for sure. It says it on their Bandcamp page.
Well, there you go.
Hell yeah. Everyone check it out. Remember, there is a playlist for every episode, 185milessouth.com. Click that playlist link. Check out the music that we talk about on the podcast. Also, I think you can find us on Spotify, 185 Miles South on there, and find these playlists. All right. The last record I want to talk about here is the band Sector from Chicago. The LP, appropriately titled The Chicago Sector, came out on Days Records. And this is punishing. I put it on here just for Ben. Ben, what's your take?
Yeah, it is punishing. You are punishing me. We're burning through all these newer bands that are playing fast hardcore, and I thought, wow, am I gonna make it to the end without hearing some metalcore? And then you just got me. You twisted the knife at the last second. Total metalcore, total double kick action. So I'm all about it. They're from Chicago. They want you to know they're from Chicago. And here's the saving grace. The singer sounds exactly like Russ from Eyelid. Can you hear it in your head right now, Zach?
I don't know. It's just a normal yelling voice, don't you think, for this style? Do you think that Russ had a unique voice? He had a big voice.
I mean, maybe I think I have like good voice recognition and bad facial recognition. So if I hear someone's voice, even if their voice isn't like, even if they're not like Jello Biafra unique, like next, like a 10 out of 10 unique, just like, and then I hear someone else's voice years later and they sound similar, I can connect the two. I mean, to me, it sounds like Russ, but yeah, Russ wasn't like, people weren't like, whoa, that guy's weird sounding or different sounding. It's like, you're right. He was just like a standard
Right.
yelling voice, but it just sounds like Russ to me.
Yeah, but he did have a great voice for the style, and this guy has a good voice for it as well. I love this thing. I just, I love these big recordings and mosh style music that does a bunch of different tempos with these big recordings. Like, it's just fun to listen to for me. I love that a lot of this music is on top right now because this is a stuff where I'm not saying that this band is generic, but generic music of this style, when they have the big recording, it's probably my favorite genre of generic hardcore music. Because like generic youth crew is really bad, and it's very hard to write catchy songs. So like you can be a hardcore band that's not a great hardcore band like Rancor, but they still write catchy songs, and that makes them great. And that's like really hard to do. So I like generic like metalcore esque like this, like mosh, not like too much of like the siren chords. Like I hate that. Like that
Panic chords.
the panic chords, I guess you want to say that, and and I don't like any melody in this stuff, and so I love this thing. I think it's great, and fuck, dude, like that first main song, the Writing on the Wall song, it's got like 27 riffs on it, and like they're all sick. You know what I mean? Like this thing is just punishing. It sounds like you're just like someone stuffed you into a washing machine, and you're just getting beat down by like heavy hardcore. Like it rules. This is great of the style. If I had to describe it to someone using other bands, I would probably say that it lands somewhere like alongside Speed, the Australian band, or Never Ending Game from Detroit. Maybe somewhere in between those two. Again, bands with big parts and playing this style but keeping it catchy. The singer has good flow. There's big backups, and I just dig this thing. And also, it's short, which I think is great as well, right? There's an intro, and then I think there's 7 or 8 songs. So for an LP of this style, this is like all I can take. I just think the length of it is perfect. The songs themselves and the record. We were into hardcore in like the early 2000s, late 90s when all that fastcore stuff came out. And shout out Muldoon, what's up, bud? But a lot of those bands, like they played like fast, short songs, which is like, okay, great. You got that part right. You know what I mean? Like you found brevity in your songs and that rules. But like all those bands, they like never got it right on like the LP and the live set, right? It's like, okay, you're doing minute-long songs, but then your record has 26 songs and when you play live, you play for 45 minutes. Like what the fuck? You know what I mean? Like how do you get one thing right, but like the other two things so wrong? And that's the thing I love about like this record and then also like that Speed record. Like they're just a perfect length. Like come in, be punishing, and get out. You know what I mean? Because like I want to hear the next thing from this band. Like I'm on board. If they punish me with like 14 songs, I think that like I would have been good. But like the length of this record is perfect. The recording is perfect for the style. The singing is standout. It has a good flow. The backups are big. That kick drum sounds big. I just dig it. Dan, what's your take?
Well, we've talked about big guy music. This definitely is big guy music. This is, music where people will be hurt listening to it live because it is going to elicit aggression but it's also going to elicit bobbing and weaving and like it's just I really don't want to use the term generic because I know what you were saying by saying this is what I love when it's right down the pipe type stuff, and I think that that's fantastic. But the thing I really like about this is the it's not like cookie cutter, like it's not completely like, oh, I know this is going to be obviously with beatdown kind of music like this, when the breakdown is coming, but the song structures here are a little bit, not typical. And the recording is good. I love the vocals, like I always love a self call out for the band, at the start. It's not my wheelhouse, as you know, but it's stuff I can appreciate, and I do appreciate this release. I think you nail it where you say that it's just long enough, like it couldn't be longer, and I agree with that. I would maybe even trim one song, but I do like the way it comes in with the intro, like call out, and then into the next song. The next song is what's it called?
Writing on the Wall.
Writing on the Wall. That song's really good, and I really like Incinerate. that shit. It's just hard. It's a hard record, and it's gonna. Yeah, it definitely is. It's right up the. It's right in that wheelhouse of the stuff that you love, like that you could drive around town listening to all day. You know.
Yeah, it's like right over the plate, but also like there is a creativity in the riffage and the vocals. And one thing about the riffage is like they'll do a riff and then ditch it and like they're out. You know what I mean? Like they're not milking anything. They're laying out sick shit and moving on. Like that's very in the vein of like Downpressor. Like, you know, back when they used to just do here's a riff and then leave it and never come back to it. Like that was so insane to me because
Yeah,
you
you're
know,
like
it's
that was
like
too good not to revisit.
I know, come back to it, come back to it. But
Here's the thing with this genre, though, and this sector are not like it. They are not guilty of this. I'm just saying there is so much of this coming out in these last 3 year span that to really put your stamp on it, you either have to have an abundance of charisma or do something gimmicky, which, you know, doesn't last that long, or do something so creative or even rise with the lyrics or something. There just has to be stuff within this genre because we are being inundated with this genre. Do you know what I mean? As more and more bands are having great success in this genre, they are influencing the next wave of bands. And, you know, much like you said about fastcore becoming, you know, very poor and watered down. I mean, this sector release is great. I'm not saying anything against that. I'm just saying there's a lot of this out there. So really, if you're going to play this music, really fucking come to the plate, you know?
yeah, and they do, and that's why like I picked this, right?
Yeah.
Like they are upper echelon of this style. So,
Yeah.
Chris, what's your take on this? And is anything getting on the Crush All Weights playlist?
Yeah. I have to listen to it a few more times to see if there's a song that kind of stands out for the playlist, but certainly like the quality of it, I could definitely see it. Because all the songs are equally pretty awesome so far. So I just have to sit with it some more and see. But I think I like what you guys are saying about like there's so many mosh bands right now. It's an oversaturated market. So like a band that plays that style that wants to rise above, like they really got to stand out and be really good at something or do something that makes them stand out. And I think for this band, it's a combination of the bounce and the aggression. Like they have this, like it's certainly got a hip hop beat. Like if you put your hand up in the air and just like let it rise and fall with the beat, like, you know, without the music, you could be at a hip hop show, right? And the vocalist certainly has a kind of a hip hop bounce over the beat, but it's where this stands out from a band where the vocalist is just kind of rapping over hardcore. Like he's pissed, like his vocals sound gnarly, like they sound super aggressive, and rather than just like flowing and laying back on the beat, like he's like attacking it. And then I think the other thing that stands out particularly for the bounce is like, and Zach mentioned this a bunch, but like it's really riffy, you know, like it's not like I think a lot of modern beatdown bands really lean into simplicity on the hard parts, you know. It'll be like jun 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 jun, you know, like that. And this kind of takes some of those tempos, but makes it a lot more riffy and a lot more busy. And so I think it makes it a little bit more interesting. So yeah, this is cool. I dig it.
Hell yeah. Everyone check out those songs on the playlist.
The fight lasts for hours, each ram battering the other dozens of times.
Head to head.
we are going head to head. 2 great 7-inch compilations from the year 1997. We're putting The Time Is Now. It is Tension Building number 1. It came with the Tension Building fanzine number 4, and also the Growing Stronger comp 1997 Teamwork Records against each other. Holy shit, both these comps rule, and this is like, God, for me being young and hardcore, like these two things are so great because like all the songs rule, all the bands rule, and you get so much on 7-inch format. It's like such a throwback to like the early 80s where, you know, a lot of the best hardcore is coming out on 7-inch, you know, so ill. Ben, head to head, which of these is better?
This one was tough. I got both of these definitely the year they came out. I don't remember which one I got first, but these are both very important records for a kid like me who got into the Youth Crew stuff right around the time it died, around the end of 91. And then, so I was waiting a very long time for bands like this to come back. And I didn't know if they ever would. And then when they did, it was like, fuck yeah, I'm completely there for it. So, let's go. I'm going to do pros and cons of each comp. So Growing Stronger, pros are Ensign, and then I'm just doing fine, Class of 89, Rain on the Parade song. And then the best or least worst Push Too Far song, and Atari Octave Guy, who is a 185 Hall of Fame Merkin hero.
We need to know his name so he can be up there with Squirrel, Noodles.
His name's on Octavio?
His name is probably like Jason McGillicuddy. It's probably something generic, and we're never going to remember it. But we should figure out his name.
No, I like Octavio. It's perfect.
Cons of the Growing Stronger comp: Push Too Far isn't on that baby blue vinyl, so it doesn't sound as good. The Floor Punch song is so generic they didn't even give it a title, and the song doesn't even have a chorus. Also, 97A is on this comp, and they are not a good band. Okay, moving on to The Time Is Now. The pros: better Floor Punch song, good enough to even warrant a title. Hands Tied, you done it again, you put your foot in your mouth. Hands Tied rules. 10-Yard Fight, I want no part of your politics and bullshit. The Rancor song with the Pulp Fiction intro, I got this chick, she's fucking ODing on me. Great song. And also Rancor bonus track, unlisted Rancor bonus track that comes after the first Rancor track. And that's the one that goes, it's my drug free pride, fucking pride. So the cons of The Time Is Now comp: Rain on the Parade song is not as good as the Rain on the Parade song on Growing Stronger. It's debatable whether or not this Floor Punch song has a chorus either. And 10-Yard Fight re-recorded the song that appears on this comp for their last EP, and that version sounds much better than this one. So basically it comes down to Hands Tied versus Atari for me, because those are the respective highlights of these comps. And I'm giving it to Octavio, baby, the Growing Stronger comp, by a hair, because dem octaves give me the feels.
Dude, and that Our Friendship, like, gang, so good. Yeah, both these comps rip. A lot of this stuff gets re-released. Floor Punch always gets re-released on the LP. Rain on the Parade, Down in Flames comes out again on their terrible LP. God, I love those 2 7-inches, and I hate that LP. The song on Growing Stronger is much more like the classic Rain on the Parade that I like. Also, the Ensign song gets re-released on their LP, first LP. So yeah, there you go. But God, both these comps are pretty great. That Floor Punch song is like an all-time classic Floor Punch song on the Time Is Now comp. The Hands Tied song is great. The fast part's good. The back end part is okay. Rain on the Parade song I think it's a good, not great song. Gets re-released. The 10-Yard Fight song I think is just okay. The Rancor song is good. The throwaway last song is pretty great for what it is, right? Shout out Dan. Drug Free Pride, hell yeah. Okay, on to Growing Stronger. The Instant song is one of their best songs. So hell yeah, that's great. The Rain on the Parade song is not one of their best songs, but it's so Rain on the Parade and catchy for what it is. Like, this is a Rain on the Parade song. The Chris Kelly tracks, the Push Too Far on the 97A, I think that both these songs are the best song of these two bands. The Push Too Far one for sure. That 7-inch sucks, although, God, that Baby Blue, not just vinyl, but the cover is beautiful. This song lives up to the Baby Blue. And this Atari song is one of their best songs. This Floor Punch song on Growing Stronger is about as close to a Floor Punch Skipper song as you could have. Like, the thing that makes Floor Punch is they're catchy, and this song isn't catchy. But it's short, so it's pretty sick that there's a Floor Punch song on here. And then, yeah, the 97 Ace song is great. Fuck. I would go Time Is Now based on just the Floor Punch song, because that song is that good. But it gets re-released on LP, so like in hindsight, I'm going Growing Stronger just because it's got better tracks that never got re-released. Dan, what's your take?
I love both of these. That should be obvious. It listed the bands. This is a really fantastic Ensign song on Growing Stronger. Yeah, it gets put on the LP, but this is Ensign against bands that are coming up behind them and kind of like pushing them aside a little bit, because Ensign's doing more of the Sick of It All side of things, where these other bands are tapping more into the Youth Crew revival. But this Ensign song holds its own big time. Holds its own. The Push Too Far song I enjoy a lot, actually. The Atari song is fantastic on this. The Floor Punch song is a disappointment because it's under the name Floor Punch, and you're like, oh, come on. Look at all these other bands like giving like high quality. Come on, give us something. 97A, I don't care for. Now, Time Is Now. This Floor Punch song is fucking amazing, as always. And you know what cracks me up about is the positive youth will always remain. When I think of Floor Punch, I definitely don't think of them being positive.
And they weren't youthful, right? They were all in their like late 20s at that point. Am I right? Yeah.
Well, youth is a mindset. We're always the drug-free youth, Ben. Come on.
Okay.
But I just think that's a funny like little thing, because these lyrics are so posy, but I just feel like only if you're in their crew. But the breakdown on this is so sick. I fucking love it. The 10-Yard Fight song, so good. Ben described actually side B very well. The 10-Yard Fight song being awesome. The 2 Rancor jammers. The Hands Tied song is great. Growing Stronger has a better layout. Like you say, the Baby Blue, Come On City. And then it has maybe at a first glance the stronger. I mean, it definitely has the better Rain on the Parade song. I really don't like Down in Flames. Down in Flames almost spoils the Time Is Now for me. But the Time Is Now is going to win because it has Floor Punch always, Hands Tied, 10-Yard Fight, and Rancor, all just delivering bangers. Even though the Growing Stronger record looks cooler, the Time Is Now takes it.
Chris, what's your take?
Before my take, 2 things. One, according to Discogs, the Atari octave guy is either Brian Gassler or Nate Clemens. So neither of them have cool names like Octavia, so we can't just pick one, I guess.
Dude, one more Discogs note. I think that the Rain on the Parade song on all the Discogs versions is said wrong. They all say class of 98. Shout out to my year, but it's actually class of 89.
Todd Tyler's year.
Someone's got to fix that on Discogs other than me.
Funny. It's their Shabby Jug did. Second thing, hard disagree on 97A being a bad band. I actually, it's a band that I didn't like at the time and have recently gone back to and actually really like a lot. So, for me, both of these are awesome. I wish they were both on streaming. They aren't, which is a crime against humanity. But for me, it's easy. I'm going Growing Stronger because a few people mentioned this, but it has Ensign's best song. It has Push Too Far's best song. It has Atari's best song and maybe 97A's best song. Rain on the Parade song might be top 5. So these are like, I mean, that's how often can you say that about a comp that so many, like such a high percentage either have their best song or, one of their best songs. So I'm going Growing Stronger.
Do you think Floor Punch gives them a better song if they knew that all the other bands were going to bring the heat?
Yeah. Yeah, I do. Also,
do you think Chris Kelly deserves a better Floor Punch song, Dan?
Well, no. And I also, I want to know how you feel about Posy Chris stabbing the pod in the back and going back and enjoying 97A.
Oh, 97A is great. They're a fine band.
They have other members that have not committed egregious crimes against humanity.
Sure, and it's always great to find a good band that's in the dollar section.
I wanted to bring up one more thing about this Atari song. It always reminds me of the Family Ties theme song because that song goes, we've been together for 1,000,000 years and I bet we'll be together for 1,000,000 more. And this Atari song starts 10 years strong and there'll be 10 fucking more. So every time I hear it, I think of Family Ties.
You're mental.
That confirms it. Chris, what were you saying?
I have no idea.
Right on.
After that.
All right, we are going to do a UFO for the LP Lifetime Hello Bastards. Ben, what's your take? And also, what is a UFO segment? Go ahead and explain it in case people are listening for the first time.
Well, first off, go back and listen to our Lifetime Hello Bastards episode where we interview guitarist Dan Yeeman. That is episode number. I don't have it in front of me. You'll have to search it out. But the UFO segment is where we, the night before the vocalist of a band is going to lay down their vocals on a given record, they are abducted by a UFO and they have to be emergency replaced by a different singer. And this could be anyone throughout all of history, living or dead. And you could even name the era in which you're talking about. So Ari Katz disappears because he is abducted by Martians the day before he's going to lay down his tracks for Hello Bastards, which would be, I don't know, early 1995 would be my guess. So this happens, this abduction. And so should I do my pick or would go around certain? Okay. My pick is going to be Anthony Civarelli circa 1989. So you have Civ, start today era Civ with his, his voice still cracks occasionally when he's going for it. And he's singing over melodic hardcore, which is what he does best. So if you can imagine him on this, there's no way it wouldn't be good, right? Can we at least, maybe it wouldn't be as good as Ari, but there's no way it wouldn't be good. So, that's my pick. Is that weird? No, it's a pretty safe pick, I think.
No, it's the no-brainer. It's a safe pick. I'm taking it too, but I'm taking the Way It Is version because better than you. Love it. Just a tiny bit more edge to it. Dan, what's your take?
I'm going to go to the West Coast to sing on a very East Coast record. I am going to Berkeley, California in the same year that Ben is plucking Anthony Civarelli. I am plucking Jesse Michaels from Operation Ivy
Yeah.
to sing on this LP. I think it would sound awesome. I think it would add a little grit and grime to it, but while still being extremely tuneful and extremely ability to keep up with the fast pacedness, but also hit the notes and but just give it a little bit more guttural grime to it. And I think it would. I think I'd really like to hear it.
Fuck, I'm gonna follow everyone's pick. Dan, I'm gonna follow you now. I'm switching my answer. I'm just taking Lint halfway because, like, yeah, grimy. Let's go all the way, dude. Let's turn it up to
Okay.
11. And Ben is so mad to have Lint sing on his favorite record of the '90s.
Yeah. He's definitely a marble mouth kind of a guy.
It could have worked here. Like this music being so clean and nice, and like that over the top of it would have been very, very something. Who knows?
Ben's-
Chris, what's your take?
Do you know what Ben says to you about that pick? What you fucking talking about?
He says, "I'm not calling you."
I'm saying all you know is that you don't know nothing.
Chris, what's your
That's
take?
fine. All right. Ari's got a very unique voice. There's so much so that like bands that are influenced by them largely sound like they're just kind of doing their version of him. Like maybe like no other vocalist in the history of hardcore outside of maybe like a Ray Capo, maybe a few others. So I'm going to avoid some of those obvious ones, like, you know, Homie from Saves the Day or, you know, whatever. I'm going to take it in a completely, what I think is a different enough direction that it makes this a different band entirely. And I'm taking a vocalist who this music is going to take them in a different direction from their actual band. I'm going to take Kim Shattuck from the Muffs.
Oh,
She doesn't sound anything like Ari, obviously. Lifetime is different enough that it won't sound like the Muffs. And I think she would sing differently. Like I see her singing over these riffs, you know, more. There are some Muff songs where they get a little bit more driving or they get a little bit more distorted, and she sounds like kind of pissed or like her voice kind of cracks. Like if you listen to their cover of Kids in America, or if you listen to like Lori Myers, like her part of Lori Myers, she sings differently than she does in the Muffs. It's a little bit less poppy, a little bit less like pleasant, and a lot more just awesome and nasty. Like I love the Muffs, don't get me wrong, but like I feel like her singing over Hello Bastards would be so sick, and I honestly think I might like it better than I like the Muffs, and I might like it better than I like Lifetime, honestly. So that's my vote. Rip Kim. She passed away 2-3 years ago. So
dude, that pick is so sick. Like her verse on Lori Myers is apex punk singing. I love it so much. And yeah, I bought a Muffs LP and I didn't like it as much. She never really like goes that hard again, you know. And like if she went that Lori Myers hard over this Lifetime record, holy shit, you have like an all-time record. That could be as good as Ari. I don't know. Dan, what's your take on that?
Oh, sorry. Go for it.
Go ahead, Ben. I thought you said Dan. Sorry.
What's that sound? Is that me? Okay.
It doesn't matter. Let's give your take and let's wrap it up.
Yeah. That was a good one. I've never been a huge Muffs fan. I saw them a bunch of times in the 90s and 2000s. One of Kim's younger sister is a friend and a neighbor of mine, and it's so cool seeing like her kids grow up and one of them looks like a mini Kim. So nothing but warm feelings towards the Muffs and your pick. And that probably would work because she does have that wow thing that she does every now and then. So you could hear that at the end of Danurism, where it's all whoa, dun dun dun, right before the breakdown. You could get one of those Kim Shattuck yells.
Dude, on Lori Myers when she goes, I lost control. Like when she hits that control word, God, it's so perfect. Dan, what's your take on this? And then what's your take on the episode? Let's wrap.
Yeah, these are all great picks. Zach, I need you to come more correct with the UFO segment instead of just piggybacking on everyone else. Thank you. I thought this was a great episode. I love talking all this new music, the Punitive Damage, the Clobber, etc. Just chef's kissing all over the place. And, love talking core with you boys.
Ben, final thoughts.
It was really cool to try to compare Growing Stronger to The Time Is Now. Like, that's a good exercise because that's so in our wheelhouse. And that was a really friggin' close one. What was the final score on that one? You have
3-1.
Which one won?
Growing Stronger.
Growing Stronger. Right on. Yep.
On the back of Chris Kelly's winning personality.
Come on, Octavio. That's who drove it home.
That's true. That's true. Chris, what's your take on this episode? Final thoughts.
When he said on the back of Chris Kelly, I remembered what I was going to say before, and that was when Dan said something about his crimes against humanity. I'm saying the crime against humanity is not getting that comp on Spotify.
True.
A lot of good stuff we chatted today. I do want to revisit Jivebomb real quick because I feel like I love this record. I think it's awesome, and I feel like maybe we might have dwelled a little bit on like that super minor nit, and I just want to be clear, like that was a very minor nitpick. Like this is a great record. I think it's awesome. I think this band is badass, and hope I get to see him someday.
I think that was a sentiment from all of us. It's just, with us saying like this is kind of, I don't know, if Sector is like over the plate, moshy, hardcore now, Jivebomb and Clobber are both kind of over the plate, modern 2022 hardcore. And they both do this like really well. And I think that that's a trope that a lot of like bands do nowadays is do like distortion on the vocals. So maybe we dwelled on it a little too much, but I do think that the reason why we did was because we enjoyed this record so much, right? If this was like a fastcore release, of like a shitty generic fastcore band that did like distorted vocals over it, like I couldn't give a fuck. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, whatever. Like a sorry band like ranked some sorry ass songs, But like this is spectacular, and a lot of the stuff that makes it spectacular is the vocals. Like she wrote really catchy shit, which is like, as Dan would say, the chef's kiss of hardcore, right? Like it's very hard to write catchy music in any genre, right? But in hardcore, it is especially hard. And so I think that's like just why I was trying to focus on, you wrote something so catchy, let's not put anything like, I don't know. I guess it's just, there's no good way to give criticism.
Totally. And that's why I kind of wanted to revisit again, is because I feel like it was a minor nit, for all of us, if not, most of us, if not all of us. And I just wanted to make sure that the percentage of time that we talked about, wanted to make it clear that that was not like, equal to how much that nit like makes this record not awesome, I guess.
Right. And we should also say, like, almost everything that gets talked on this podcast gets a positive review. And the reason for that is there's so much music out there. Like, and I like to keep this podcast positive. So we talk about stuff that I like, or it'll be something that Ben likes a lot, or Chris likes a lot, or Dan likes a lot, or whoever's on likes a lot. Like it's stuff that comes from one of us that like really rides for it. So there is like a wave of positivity behind everything we talk about on here, because dude, there's too much good shit. Like all the stuff I like doesn't get to get talked about on the podcast. So why the hell would I ever waste any time talking about records that I don't like on here? Like we are the anti edgelord pod. You know what I mean? Like I don't give a fuck about a hot take. That shit is lazy. You know, it's like intellectually lazy to hate on stuff, right? Like you can list like even Ben on here, like I serve him up stuff he doesn't like, but he still can like pluck things out of it and talk about things a little objectively. Like that's like not lazy. Like being an edgelord and hating on stuff is lazy. I don't like it. So anyway, rant over. Sorry, Chris.
No, well said.
Well, hell yeah, Dan. Where can people find you?
Well, I'm just going to quote Clobber: defund the police, hang all the Tories, castrate the nonces, and people can find me at Southpaw Instagrammer on Instagram. Reach out, tell me why I'm crazy.
Ben, where can people find you?
On Instagram at Cold Chillin' Book, and if you live in Holland, Germany, or the UK, I will be on a book tour November 12th to November 19th. I wrote a book a while back called Going Off the History of the Juice Crew and Cold Chillin' Records, and me and the photographer who took most of those early hip-hop photos, George DeBose, will be on a tour together, selling books, selling photos. Come out, say hi, even if you don't like hip-hop. You can ruin our Q&A by asking me questions about hardcore, and believe me, I will not be mad at you. I'll be stoked.
You should get Clobber on that, like when In Control played the Stephen Blush book.
Yeah,
They'll throw him in a trash can.
Ben gets chucked in the trash can.
Chip
Ben's not
Shop
saying
Brixton,
hardcore is
yep.
dead.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Chris, where can the people find you?
Chris Williams 51 on Twitter and Instagram.
And what's up with your pod, Chris? Shout out.
Yeah, I fairly recently started a podcasted radio station. If you listen to Intense Energy, the Oxnard radio show, it's similar to that, but focused on Northwest hardcore specifically. Got a couple episodes out by now, and just like this show, just it's all about sharing stuff that I love, both past, present. I think the first episode spanned 1981 to 2022. So, 41 year or so span. So yeah, I saw Zach's idea and I copied it because I thought it was a good idea.
Oh, come on. I was going to say, Chris, why is Intense Energy so similar to Northwest Hardcore Radio? Because you came to me and were like, hey, can you give me some tips on, putting up a podcast the first time? And I was like, I'm going to take that idea. Thank you.
And then you beat me to the presses.
I know. Well, I'm just a psychopath like that. Dan can vouch for it. When I get something, it's like I got to like work and do it right away or I'll move on from it. But
it's sick. And obviously, like I'm in the 805 now, and like Oxnard is the closest scene to me. Oxnard and San Jose probably are about the same. So I got a lot of love for the Nards. So love it.
Hell yeah. And it was mutually beneficial because it had been so long since I went through the process of putting 185 miles south up that like I needed to go and do it again. So I was able to give you instruction because I did it with Intense Energy. So
part of the 185 Miles South Podcast Network.
How about that? Part of the 185 family. Everyone, you can find me 185 miles south at gmail.com. That's the best way. Send me an email. I get back to everyone. Also 185 miles south on Instagram and Twitter and personal Zach Retaliate Instagram. And Retaliate is the best on Instagram. Everyone, we love you. We will talk to you again next week on Patreon.